What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical, average American here today to react to the Canadian election. It's finally here. Today is the day. And I mean, I almost can't believe it's actually today. I'm sure if you're Canadian, today must feel like a huge day. I mean, here in the United States, whenever we have an election, it feels like the biggest of days. Like the tension in the air is palpable. Palpable. How's that for a word? Palpable. You can touch it, you can taste it. I'm sure a lot of Canadians are feeling excited, maybe nervous, maybe a little stressed. And I mean, I don't know. I honestly don't know what to expect. I know in the last election here in America, not that long ago, a lot of Americans feel like going into election day, you have a pretty good idea of who might win or who the favorite is, but there's something about election day where all of that feels like it almost goes out the window and you honestly just don't know what the heck is going to happen. And you also know you're going to find out the result of this huge, momentous decision just in a couple of hours. So it's really quite a special day. And I have to be honest, this is the first Canadian election that I've ever actually truly paid attention to in my whole life, to be completely honest. For most Americans, we learn who wins the Canadian election. Like the next day after the election, it's in the news for a little bit, and we're like, oh, okay, who's that? What? Huh? This time, I actually know who is in the running to become the Prime Minister of Canada, what's at stake here, and for a lot of Americans, it's kind of sad because I think a lot of Americans don't really understand Canadian politics, Canadian elections. I certainly didn't. For the vast majority of my life, I had no freaking clue what was going on. And a lot of Americans might not even know that today is election day in Canada, but forget about them. Who cares about them? It's not about that. Today is about Canada and Canadians. So, right now, it is still the morning of April 28th, Election Day. I'm sitting here on the computer, and I realize we have quite a bit of time until the final results are actually in. So I want to take a look at a few things before the results come in and the voting is decided. Canadians are literally out voting right now at this very moment. That's kind of cool to think about. So, to give me a little context here of what's happening, we have some final polls. This is by the CBC, I believe. Liberals are holding a narrow lead, but heavily favored to win the most seats. That's a strong word. Heavily favored. So it sounds like just based on this headline alone, the Liberal Party is projected to win, and Mark Carney is projected and is the favorite to not become Prime Minister, but I suppose maintain his Prime Ministership? Anyway, the margin closed. The margin is closing a bit in the final days. Liberals enter Election Day with a lead of just under 4 percentage points. That's not that much. 4 percentage points. Is there any margin of error? Favored by wide margins in key battlegrounds, the Liberals are very likely to win the most seats and have a good chance of securing a majority government. So, the Canadian government and Canadian elections and your leadership is different than how we do it here in America. And from what I understand, you guys are all voting in your separate little, what do you call them? Little districts or ridings, I think is the term. And you're all out voting for your individual MP that represents your area, your little area of Canada that you inhabit. And by by choosing those MPs, that creates the amount of people in the different political parties in the government, and whoever has the most MPs is the winner. Is that about right? I think so. I hope at this point I kind of understand this. And it says liberals are at 42.8%. Does that mean they're projected to win 42.8% of the ridings of the MPs? Anyway, conservatives are at 39.2. It's really I mean, is that considered close? It's 4% difference. I feel like that's close. So basically we're saying the liberals are favored to win. So we're going to keep that in mind. Moving on, this is Polymarket. I don't know if you know about this, but this is actually a gambling website. I'm not saying you should use this. I'm not at all saying that. But this is a useful tool because on this website you can bet on who you think is going to be the next Prime Minister of Canada. And what's interesting about betting and betting odds is that these types of measurements tend to almost be more accurate than polls. In the last election, in America here, there were a lot of polls saying that Kamala Harris and the Democrats were neck and neck, or maybe even leading in some cases against Donald Trump and the Republicans. The polls were very, very misleading in America. Oh, very misleading. But what was shockingly accurate was the betting and the gambling, because it turns out when people do polls, you might lie, or you might not be decided, or you might be embarrassed to report who you're actually voting for, or you might not want to report who you're voting for when people call you and you do online polls and stuff. But when people are betting their money, when they're actually putting their money at stake, people tend to be very, very honest and very truthful. Because if you're betting with your money, you're genuinely, whether you like the candidates or not, it doesn't even matter. You're betting your money on who you think is going to win. It doesn't even matter if you support them or not. So these betting odds and betting results tend to be kind of accurate. And in the last election in the United States, the betting odds were totally accurate. They predicted Donald Trump would win, and he did win. And we can see here, Mark Carney is heavily favored to win, according to this betting website. 78% to 21% probability of winning, according to people who are putting their money at stake. So I thought that was really interesting, and we're going to find out if that turns out to be true. Next, we have the Canadian election live results. I feel like I should refresh this. I should refresh this to make sure it's up to date. First results are expected at 6 p.m. Okay, first results are not expected for many, many, many hours. So, I'm definitely going to have to come back. Unless you want this video to be like 9 hours long or something. Jeez. Anyway, Canadians will elect a new government Monday. Yep, we know about that. When the polls close, voting hours end at 7, 7:30, 8:30, 9:30, 10. Oh, all across Canada. Oh, look at this. This is cool. At 7:30, you got Atlantic Canada provinces reporting in. Voting ends at 8:30 in eastern Quebec. Then Ontario, then British Columbia goes more west. I see. First results come in 7 p.m. Eastern Time with the 4 Atlantic provinces. This accounts for less than 10% of the seats. So when we get those first votes coming in from the Atlantic provinces at 7 o'clock, is that going to tell us who the winner is, basically? Like, at what point... Man, yeah, oh, this is interesting. These are the seats, the ridings. Oh, look at this. Yeah, you got 4 at Prince Edward Island, only 4. 10 seats in New Brunswick, 11 in Nova Scotia, 7 in Newfoundland, Labrador. You got Quebec. Montreal alone has almost as many seats as New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island, and Newfoundland, Labrador combined. So does Toronto. Wow, I didn't know it was split up like this. Nunavut, Northwest Territories, and Yukon all have one seat? I guess they don't have a very big population. Anyway, this is very interesting. Oh, look at this. It's all blank right now. It's all blank! Oh, can't we just jump through time? Well, if you're watching this video, we are literally going to jump through time. We are going to skip ahead through time and jump to when the reporting starts, because so I'll be checking back here for the live results as they're happening. I got some headlines today. Canadians voting after a fierce campaign shaped by Trump. Fascinating that Donald Trump has indeed become such a big, pivotal point of contention in Canadian politics. And certainly from my American perspective, not something I like to admit, or not something I like to see, but it is the reality. A consequential election ends with a stark choice and uncertain future. Canada is facing its biggest decision in decades. This election is huge. A lot of important points being decided. This election is about Donald Trump and a lot more. There's climate, Canada's sovereignty. Wow. Okay. And I think with that, that's a good place to stop for now. I will report back to you. This will be instantaneous for you, but many, many hours for me. I'll be back to check on the results and the voting as they are coming in. I'm very, very excited. I'll see you in a little bit. All right, we're back. This is the first of a couple different updates I expect I'm going to be doing throughout the course of today. But I just wanted to take a look at some of the things that the Canadian news is starting to come out with today. There's no way that there's any election and voting results yet. This is I'm back here, it's like 3 o'clock in the afternoon now, but I do want to hear some of the developments and thoughts that Canadians and the Canadian news is talking about right now. So let's take a look here. Oh. Okay, we're getting serious.
Who is ready to stand up for Canada?
Who is ready to vote for change in Canada?
This is the most consequential vote of our lifetimes.
This election is really about the cost of living.
We can control our destiny with a plan that meets the moment.
After a lost Liberal decade of rising costs and crime, we cannot afford a fourth Liberal term.
Our country works best when
Wow. So much campaigning, so many speeches and rallies and stuff. Although this has been kind of like a unique election for Canada, hasn't it? Just because I'm thinking of how the development of Justin Trudeau resigning and stepping down, then Mark Carney coming in, becoming the Prime Minister of Canada, and therefore also the Liberal Party candidate. But he's also the Prime Minister. So he's gotten like a very short amount of time to do this campaigning for this election that he called. So it's happening even sooner. But he gets this opportunity to, lead the country and kind of prove his salt and his worth that way. But what would normally be like months of campaigning and speeches has been kind of condensed to this shorter time period because of what happened with Trudeau and Carney, and how Poilievre was just killing it and leading in the polls for such a long time, and the Conservatives were leading and looking like they were going to run away with it. And now, especially after a lot of the stuff Trump has done and interjected himself into Canadian politics, how the Liberal Party has mounted this huge comeback, and now the Liberals are the favorite to win, and you can't write this. You can't make this up.
one party doesn't have all the power.
Quebecers will decide how many of us will go in Ottawa and fight for Quebec.
In a trade war.
And within all this are like these sort of smaller things, like the NDP trying to get members in the Quebec Party. What's it called? I'm sorry, what's the Quebec Party? Anyway, the party that represents Quebec is like trying to get more representation in the government for Quebec and all these side quests and stuff.
Just like in hockey, we will win.
Never
Like hockey.
entrust the solution to the people who made
That's how. Sorry to interrupt Polyev here and his moment, but I just realized like Mark Carney's out here making hockey analogies. Like that's just so freaking Canadian. Okay.
to the people who made the problem.
We need New Democrats now more than ever.
We know
Wow.
how. As America retreats from the world, Canada will lead it.
This election
Wow.
comes down to one word only: change.
Wow.
Change, change, change.
Okay. Dang.
It all comes down to Canadians tonight. Who will be the next prime minister and lead this country through one of the most serious economic challenges it has faced?
Yeah.
The first polls begin to close in just a few hours, and results will start pouring in after a 36-day race that, let's face it, just 5 months ago, nobody saw coming.
36 days? It's only been 36 days. That's so crazy.
But Justin Trudeau's exit and Donald Trump's entry changed everything.
Yes.
Voters turned out in record numbers in advanced polls, which suggests Canadians are deeply engaged in this election and anxious about the country's future.
Canadians have already. You guys have like advanced polling? Oh, you do that. We do that in the United States. It's kind of a newer thing. And like mail in voting and. Right. So Canadians are voting in advance in record numbers. That really shows that a lot of Canadians are taking this very, very, very seriously.
Will they choose a fourth Liberal term under new leadership?
Wow.
Or will they opt for a change in course and elect a Conservative government for the first time in 14
In 14 years?
years?
I didn't realize this was the fourth term. It would be the fourth term of a Liberal Canadian government. Wow, that is a long time. So this really is an election of like, are Canadians happy with how things are going? Or do you want a huge change? Because if you guys have been going about this leadership, sort of liberal leadership regime for 14 years, that's a long time. So it would be a big change for like the Conservatives to win.
We're also watching how the other parties fare, because their fortunes could determine whether it's a majority or minority government.
Right, that's the other thing. Oh my gosh, Canadian politics are so interesting. There's something sickly fun for me about this, because it's like, here in America, when we have our election, it's like almost depressing, because especially last election, for a lot of Americans, it felt like we have to choose between the least worst candidate, and we have all these issues going on, and no one felt good no matter who was going to win, and people are upset no matter what, and it's still upset, and this crazy trajectory we've gone on with Trump and Canada, and it's just nice for me to get to kind of sit back and see an election happen that's not America, and like deciding my fate. And it is, in a way, deciding Americans' fate, because what happens to Canada hugely has repercussions and big effects on what will happen to the United States. But you know what I mean? Like, it's not the American election. Like, I can just kind of like sit back from an outside point of view and be like, oh, this is interesting, rather than like gripping my chair like, what's gonna happen to me? Like, you know?
Hi there, I'm David Cochran in Toronto for Election Day, and Power and Politics starts right now.
Okay. Here we go. I'm gonna skip ahead a little bit. All these like graphics and stuff. Come on, we got election stuff to learn.
We're going to hear this hour from CBC reporters from coast to coast to coast to find out what's at stake in each of the regions, as our party insiders guide us through the party's paths.
Oh, cool. I am going to skip ahead. There's no way I can see everything. This is hours. This live broadcast is going on all day. So I'm a little limited. And honestly, we all just want to see the results. So, what are some of the things being said? Millions of Canadians heading to the polls after 36-day campaign. 32 seats in Nova Scotia. Huh. Dozens of new candidates campaigning for Newfoundland Labrador's 7 seats? There's so many, all the seats and the... Okay, Newfoundlanders and Labradorians are the first to cast their ballots today. I did know that from earlier. Oh my goodness gracious.
And successfully become the mayor of Halifax. And this is one the NDP have won in the past, and this would have been the seat you were really targeting in this campaign.
So they're just kind of like going through all the different provinces and probably within the provinces to the different districts and ridings and talking about who has historically won what. And looks like the first polls are closing in Canada in like 2.5 hours.
Places like La Salle et Mont.
Quebec holds 78 seats, which could tip the balance in the federal election. Wow. Quebec is a key battleground. Do you guys use that term too? We say like battleground state when it's not sure which way it's going to go. You got battleground provinces and stuff. Quebec, 78 seats up for grabs. Nothing here is talking about like how this is a runaway or a sure thing, or it still seems very much up in the air to me. Like nobody quite knows what's going to happen. There's a lot of seats. No one really knows how things are going to go, how people are actually going to vote now that it's election day. And I don't know, this was sort of the little update I just wanted to get to kind of get me through the afternoon here. I don't know. I'll be back probably in 2.5 hours when the first polls close. Are we going to see actual results? How quickly do the results come in? Because it can take forever in the United States sometimes. So hopefully in 2.5 hours, we're going to start seeing, it's still really way too early to call it or tell, but we're going to start seeing some results. So I'll be right back. 3 hours later, and the polls just closed.
Have now closed in the easternmost part of this country. There are 7 ridings in Newfoundland and Labrador. They'll start off our results tonight, as they always do in every election.
Oh. I like how they're saying that like that's very common knowledge. I suppose this is very common, well-known knowledge in Canada that the election results always begin with Newfoundland and Labrador. I had no idea about that until today. I'm learning a lot of things for the first time today. But the polls just closed, at least the ones in Newfoundland and Labrador. I think there's many more hours to go for the rest of the polls to close. And I just realized just because the polls are closing, it doesn't mean that the results are in yet,
For Logan McClellan to do that, he has to get past Bobby Morrissey, who certainly has been around for a long time. Let's see how all of this is landing with someone very familiar to Islanders. That's Louise Martin, who's at a watch.
I think I popped in here a little too early. I'm going to have to wait half an hour longer. Man, this season finale of Canada is really taking a while, but... I'm going to come back to this in like half an hour or an hour, and I expect when I return, I've been going back and forth between the computer all day, but this time, when I come back, I expect there to actually be the first, results and voting results in for the day, and I don't know if that's going to set the tone. I don't know. It's not like a huge part of Canada that's reporting in, but it's exciting. It's exciting nonetheless, so... I'll be right back again. Oh, what is this? I walked away for about almost 2 hours here, and I come back, and what has happened? The entire election is practically over. No, but we finally have actual results coming in here. Oh my gosh, it's really happening. It's really starting. Okay, what do we have here? Let's take a breath here. This is the real thing. Liberals are currently sitting at 21 seats. Conservatives are at 11, and the Quebec Party, the Bloc Québécois, I forget exactly. The Quebec Party has 1 seat. So yeah, good for you guys. And I don't know, the first thing that I'm kind of thinking is, how substantial is this actually? Like, we're at the very beginning of the voting results and the reporting now. And clearly, like, if you just looked at this, like I am, where you're an American, you don't know that much about how this all goes in Canada. It's like, is this a sign of what's gonna happen? Is this setting any kind of tone? The Liberals are clearly winning by a fair margin, 21-11, but it's like, there's 310 more seats to come, and the magic number is 172. What are they saying here?
343 MPs. 5 more ridings are being added. 1 in Ontario, 1 in BC, and 3 in Alberta.
Oh.
That's all thanks to redistribution. It's a process that happens every 10 years. Independent, nonpartisan commissions were tasked with redrawing the electoral map as populations change based on census data.
Oh, okay, they're explaining how there's more ridings this year in Canada. Like, the number has gone up based on, like, polling and demographics and population. That makes sense. But what I was talking about is, what's the magic number? They took it away. They took away. What's the magic number again? 172? 174? Anyway, that's the number of seats you need to win minimum to be the majority party in Canada. 172. There it is on the screen. Thank you.
Okay, so that's why you might be voting in a riding that looks different or has a different name. That's why in Alberta there are 3 more ridings to adjust for.
Interesting. Let's pop over to the map here. Yeah, here we go. Oh my gosh, look at the Atlantic provinces. They're all filled in. Oh my gosh, stuff is happening. Alert, stuff is happening. Things are happening. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do with my hands. I don't. Okay. Newfoundland and Labrador. Oh wow, look at this. Honestly, this kind of throws me for a loop because the Liberal Party is in red. The Conservative Party is in blue. Is that how it goes in Canada? That's the opposite of the United States. And I feel like I'm going to screw that up at some point. But in Canada, Conservative is blue and Liberal is red. And there's a lot of red right now. Prince Edward Island, all red. And I like how they kind of compare it to 2021, the previous election. In Newfoundland and Labrador, slightly more conservative in this election, actually. 3 seats compared to 1 4 years ago. Nova Scotia, exactly the same. 8 Liberal seats, 3 Conservative seats. New Brunswick, exactly the same. 6 Liberal seats, 4 Conservative seats. I thought they said there was a Quebec seat somewhere. Maybe this map hasn't, like, updated fully, but, are these for sure? Like, are these set in stone once they report it like this? Because, like, yeah, here, for instance, it's showing some of the voting. Like, this says only 75% of the polls are reporting. This only has 3% of the polls reporting. But it's a Liberal landslide so far. But it's only 3% in Eastern Quebec reporting. So they're basing this off of, like, 3%, 10%, 70% of votes, which kind of, to me, tells me that these are not set in stone necessarily, but I don't know. It's a fair indication of what's happening so far. Anything else going on here? Yeah, I feel like this went up since we looked at this a second ago. 22 Liberal seats! Gaining seats by the second. This is exciting. I like this. Actual, like, numbers and reporting and votes to look at. I guess that's it for now, isn't it? It's like 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock in Canada, depending on where you live. And I feel like the voting in where? Quebec is up next. Oh, yes. It's already... Well, this is where the Bloc Quebec party seat is. I see it here now. Quebec is going to... I think the polls are basically closing in Quebec right now. which means the results are going to come in sometime in the next half hour, hour and a half, I hope. So Quebec is up next, then like Ontario, and basically, actually, is this all, how do we do this? Oh, here we go. Oh, wow. So Ontario, Manitoba, Alberta, Saskatchewan, all report together, basically? Oh my God, when that happens, it's going to blow this thing wide open. Okay, well, this is exciting. That was a cool update. Oh my gosh. So I'm going to come back again in like an hour or 2 hours and hopefully have maybe all of Quebec filled in, hopefully, if I get the timing right. Wow, that's going to be something. All right, at this point, I don't think we really can say who's winning, who's losing. It feels like there hasn't even been that much of an upset compared to 4 years ago, except for Newfoundland and Labrador, which seem to gain 2 Conservative seats. That's the most shock and awe that you can say has happened so far. So, all right, I will be back. I'll be back. I can't wait. Oh my God. Look at this. Now it's like 8:45, 9:45 if you're in the Eastern time zone. Anyway, I'm back after like an hour or two, and look at what happened. 49 seats, no, just updated. 51 seats for Liberals to 39 to Conservatives. This is still a fairly close election, isn't it? Next polls are closing in 14 minutes. The Bloc has 11. The NDP finally got their first seat. I'm going to jump to the election map here. Oh my goodness gracious. This is lighting up like a Christmas tree or something. What is this? I think I misread this. I thought Quebec was going to start reporting next, but we have Quebec, Ontario, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Alberta all starting to report now. Oh my gosh, this you can plainly say this election is well underway, and I think you can start to even try to pull some, I don't know, infer some things from this instead of just saying, it's just beginning, let's see. It's like, no, we're into this now. I like how you can compare this to 2021, so I can understand what exactly this map means, the voting map. What would be an upset? What would be a change? Like in Quebec, the Bloc had 34 seats. That makes sense. It's Quebec, for crying out loud. In 2021, and then Quebec is, after the Bloc Québécois, it's mostly liberal, actually. I didn't know that. 33 seats in 2021. So far, it's 4 to the Liberals and 1 to the Conservatives. Conservatives the party doesn't do so well. Doesn't hold that many seats in Quebec, does it? Historically, that is. Maybe that'll change this time around. And I think the Conservatives need it to change in Quebec to have a chance of pulling an upset and winning this thing. In Ontario was also very liberal. I mean, that makes sense because the Liberals have won the last election. Of course, it's going to say there's more. But it's kind of the benchmark we're looking at here. In 2021, 77 seats to the Conservative Party's 40. Today, it's 2-1. Conservatives leading in Ontario, quote unquote, because there's a lot more to see in Ontario. Ontario has 122 ridings. Oh my, the most of any province. That makes sense. It's the most populated. That's a big one. And it's going to have a very large Conservative turnout to pull out a victory for the Conservative Party, right? Manitoba is actually a Conservative province, historically, and 2 seats for them. Same with Saskatchewan. It's a Conservative province, 2 seats so far. Alberta has a lot of seats and is very conservative. 37 in Alberta. 34 of those went to Conservative Party in 2021. Wow, so the Conservatives are really gonna gain a lot when it's all said and done from Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Alberta. Liberals gain a lot from, a decent amount from Ontario and a lot from Quebec. What about British Columbia? There's no reporting from British Columbia. British Columbia is pretty 50-50 split, liberal and conservative, actually. Oh my goodness, okay, oh my god, this thing updated again, 64 to 45. We're into this. We are into this. Strap in, just updated again. Buckle your seatbelts, we're into this. What are we saying here?
With his wife, Diana Fox Carney.
What?
Just, well, he was watching us. That's also good.
What is this? This is Mark Carney and his wife just chilling on a couch. What is this? This is their watch party? They're just like, what is this couch? Is this like the election watching couch of Canada? What is this? He looks cozy. Maybe because he's leading so far. Let's see how cozy he remains.
Casing Timmins Ishkegwak. This was Charlie Angus's writing, right? This is the one where people wondered, I wonder what will happen.
They're talking about this specific, I almost forget because this is such a different format in Canada from the United States. You guys, I think of this as like in the United States when the votes come in for the presidential election, you see like percentages like, Pennsylvania is 51% for the Republicans and 49% Democrats, and it's just people voting for the president. This is not just voting for the prime minister. In a way it is, but it's actually voting for members of parliament of the House of Commons for each of these ridings. And that's what we're looking at here. Each of these are not just votes, over 300 votes, but individual people that are like going to be put into office and representatives. So that's important for me to remember, because that's very different to the American presidential election where we're just voting for one individual. 68 liberals to 50 conservatives. Okay. Oh my gosh. When I come back, say in an hour or something, an hour or two, I feel like we're going to have a very, very good idea of who's going to win. And that is exciting. That is, wow. Yeah, 72 to the Liberals. We're in a race to 172. So I do have a question about that. You need 172 seats to become the majority party, but in order to win the election, quote unquote, your party just has to be the biggest, bigger than any other party, right? Although that's called a minority government if it's not 50% of the total seats, right? I tried to refresh myself on some of this. So what number do liberals need to secure a minority government? Like the biggest party, but not the majority? Do you know what I mean? Anyway, that's something I haven't seen them talk about really. Maybe you guys don't think of it like that. The magic number is 172. We're getting there. Liberals are at 75 right now. It's close-ish, but it's like, you got to be honest. Conservatives, you'd like to see yourselves ahead, like your number bigger than the liberals. But we have a lot of conservative provinces that have not reported in yet. That's going to be very big. A huge boost for the conservative count. And it sounds like Quebec and honestly Ontario and maybe British Columbia, but mostly Ontario maybe, that's going to decide this. There needs to be some kind of upset somewhere to make this a conservative win. If everything just remains on course for what's happening, it's going to be a liberal victory, right? Something has to start happening pretty soon. That's my analysis. Anyway, my American analysis. I think I kind of get what's going on here. It's fascinating. This is this is better than the Super Bowl. Maybe. Now, certainly more consequential. That's for sure. All right. I will be back I don't know how long. Maybe it's tough for me to like stay away, but I like to come back and there to actually be some updates. So maybe an hour or two. The polls are closing again in 5 minutes. 80 to 56. The Liberals keep climbing there. When I come back, I expect we might know who the winner of this election is going to be. We might know, and that's exciting. So I will be right back. Okay, I lied. I'm back. It hasn't been that long. It's been like 15 minutes, and I had to come back. I couldn't help it. I needed to see what was going on, and thank goodness I did, because look at this. 123 for the Liberals to 87 for Conservatives. I mean, at what point do you have to be like, it's not neck and neck anymore? What is this they're playing?
Need to tick in from polls right across the country at this stage. This is where the Liberals are right now. They are leading or elected in 123 ridings. Let me show you the next piece of that. That is the pink seats that you're seeing there. Those are incumbents. Those are the seats that they would have to now win. 51 more if they want to track towards a majority. And if they were to win those 51 incumbents, incumbency, as we've been talking about, does give you an advantage, but if they were to win that, they would surpass the 172 they need to get to a majority. So they need to hold those leading and elected in 123 that you see on your screen. They need to hold the 51 incumbents that are there, and then they're on their way. And things are tracking in this direction so far tonight. But again, many, many close races, and we're watching some.
There you have it. That was a good way to summarize what's going on, huh? It looks like the Liberals are on track to win this thing. I think you can say that at this point, right? They just need to, like, basically, let's pull up the map. Let's go to the map. Oh my gosh. Oh, let me refresh this. Oh my goodness. Yeah. I mean, we have at least well over half of the ridings reporting in now. Let's start with Quebec. 29 for the Liberals, 6 for the Conservatives. Ontario, 40 seats Liberal, 25 Conservative. It just kind of looks like everything is tracking exactly similar to 2021. Basically, there's no upset happening right now. Manitoba, basically all Conservative. Saskatchewan, majority Conservative. Alberta, very, very, very Conservative. 17-0 for the Liberals. Yeah, what more can you really say about this? At a certain point, what do the Conservatives even have to do at this point? Start having like a big showing in Toronto? Oh, wow. So Toronto is so freaking massive. You guys have like half the seats in Ontario. Look at this. And Toronto's very liberal by the look of it. Oh my God, very liberal. In 2021, 48-5. Wow. So you gotta think. Well, hold on a sec. In Toronto, is this like one of the only chances Conservatives have here? Is Conservatives are doing like better in Toronto area in 2025. You got 6 beating 2021 already, and you have like many, many more seats still left to report. Maybe you could make up ground there, or in Ontario. British Columbia is going to be very important, but from what I'm seeing here so far, and if we jump back to this, I mean, Liberals are at 130 in a race to 172. The Bloc and the NDP are going to take up some of those extra seats as well. If you're in favor of the Liberal Party, you got to be sitting pretty confident right now, right? Right? This is what I meant where when we came back, and it didn't take that much time at all, I just waited like 20 minutes and I was like, I gotta make sure nothing's happening. And like everything is happening. I think in the next hour or two, we're going to know. We're going to know if the Liberals hit that 172 number. It seems like that the projections, the polling, the gambling that we talked about in the beginning, those projections, all of it saying that the Liberals were going to win seems to be happening, unless I'm missing something, unless there's something about to happen that I don't know what or where. I don't know where the Conservative seats, the extra ridings or seats are going to come from, but it's looking good for the Liberals. Share of the vote, 50%.
Which again, we've been saying in a regular election would have been a remarkable share of the vote for them. But the story really in what's happening with the other parties on the board there, the Bloc and the NDP, not even reaching 5% at this stage. Let me show you the seat change.
Is that abnormal?
That allows us to call for a Liberal government. 23 seats are leading and elected in. The Liberals are up. The Conservatives down 5. The Bloc down 12 at this stage, which, as Chantal was saying, was not out of the realm of possibility even for people inside the Bloc, but would be very disappointing for them. And the NDP now down 6. The NDP right now on your screen only leading or elected in 2 ridings. Remember, you need 12 to get official party status. I'm going to go over to David to give us a sense of how we got here.
Well, look,
What? So the NDP only has 2. Apparently the NDP is doing terrible compared to what they thought. And you need 15 to even be an official party. The NDP might not even be an official party after this. I don't know much about them, but it's not a great night to be a member of the NDP, it seems. The Bloc, 17, they seem to be saying isn't doing that great. Does that mean the Liberals are doing better than projected? And did they just say that they are calling it? Did I mishear something? Did that lady just say they can basically call this for the Liberals? Are the Liberals doing that well? I mean, they're winning by a lot at this point. You can see that, 136 to 91. But can you call it at this point?
You can see a minority government is almost certain at this point, or is certain at this point, and a majority government is still very much in play. Let's go into Ontario, and let's go to that key for...
Oh! I think we just found out who's going to win this thing. I mean, winning in Canada, the Canadian election, it looks different than the American election, where the American election, it's very black and white. You need 51% of the Electoral College votes, if you know how that all works, and then you're the president of the United States. Bam. In Canada, to be prime minister, you need to be the leader of the majority party. So it's not all about having more than half of the ridings, although that is a great thing, and it makes you the majority party and makes it much easier for you to pass legislation. But you can still win or have your party be the biggest and therefore have the prime minister in your party if you just have the most seats. You don't even need 51%. You just need the most. So it seems the Liberal Party has accomplished that, right? We can say that right now. I think we're saying that. The Liberals are going to have the biggest party. Mark Carney is going to be the Prime Minister of Canada. I think we can say that right now.
Here in Alberta, you see a lot of blue. This is where a lot of the Conservative seats are coming from. But you got to zoom in on Calgary, where the Liberals are leading right now.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, Calgary, sure. Is Calgary going to flip this on its head? I don't think so. What are we talking about at this point? Look at this map. British Columbia would have to be like 100% conservative at this point. Is that the only way it happens? 140 seats to the Liberals, 141. This is over. I think this is pretty much over. It's never over till it's over, but if you're a Liberal in Canada, you're probably celebrating right about now. So I think I'm going to step away for a little bit, let more of the votes and the stuff come in. I mean, this is exciting.
Is about 100 votes. And that is simply too close to call for us and for the decision desk. And so we're going to wait to be sure before we get to that point. And that's partly why, as David said, British Columbia could be awfully important here tonight. You're always important, British Columbia, but even more important in terms of forming government.
Yeah, British Columbia, you're finally mean something. You're finally relevant. It's like, no. She saved herself there with that one. But for the purposes of this election, it's going to be fascinating to see British Columbia. Conservatives are about to have over 100 seats. The Liberals just went back down to 136. It's still... They just said they're not calling this, which you shouldn't do because you'll look like a fool if you're wrong. But at this point, we can say it looks good for Liberals, looks grim for Conservatives if you're hoping to win the majority or something or have some kind of big change or upset. Doesn't look like it's going to happen. Not at all. Fascinating. Riveting stuff. Okay. Let's take a breather. Let's come back, and I'd like to come back and basically be looking at a fully colored in map of Canada telling me the de facto results of what's happened here tonight, and then we can pretty much put this thing to bed. I'm sure right now Canadians are just like, I don't know, you're either like sort of having a pity party, kind of like, dang it, not happy, or you're very happy right now. But that's just the way these things go, isn't it? Elections and politics and whatnot. But either way, hopefully, this is just sort of demonstrating and portraying the will of Canada, the will of the people, voting, democracy, all that great stuff. And I know Canada will, thrive and do what you do, no matter who wins this thing, but looks like it's going to be Liberals. So I'll be back in a bit to check out the end of this thing. What the heck is going on here? What is this? It's like 11 o'clock Eastern time right now. I gotta go to bed. What is happening? All the good stuff, Canada, you are making this very interesting. I gotta hand it to you. Last time we were looking at the voting and the results, it was a foregone conclusion, it seemed, that the Liberals were gonna win easily, you could say. It's 154 to 149. This is almost tied. What's happening? What happened? What's happening? Let's take a look at the map. I thought people were starting to call this race, right? Like if you go to the news, like on Google, you see CNN, Canadian media projecting win for Liberals. NPR, Canada votes for Mark Carney as Prime Minister. They're literally reporting that Mark Carney has won and is the Prime Minister. In stunning comeback, Carney's Liberals win the federal election. What? There are many news outlets reporting that the Liberals have won. But am I missing something? Is there something I don't understand here? Okay, so they got British Columbia coming in finally. Wow, all the colors here. You got a quite an eclectic bunch in British Columbia. Liberals leading with 9. Then Conservatives, then the NDP with 5. Actually, a lot of NDP votes there. If we jump back here, what are we at? 155 to 149. Why were we starting to talk about calling this? Is this not extremely close? And the NDP is having its own little mini sort of crisis where you need 12 seats to officially be a party or something like that. So the NDP might not even reach that. The Bloc is way down, it sounds like. And I think the biggest things going on here is a lot of the votes in Quebec that did not go for the Bloc and instead went Liberal. And in Ontario and Toronto, a lot of the votes that were maybe supposed to go Liberal have gone Conservative. So it's just like there is a little bit of drama going on here, which I got, I'm American. I'm here for the entertainment, Canadians. I don't mind this at all. What are we talking about right now?
Point out that issue of leaders' favorability, because that obviously may have been a factor here as well. What I'm not going to accept anymore is that Mark Carney's not a politician. He's a politician, that's it. There's no going back, that's who he is.
now.
I mean, by definition, he's a politician. All right, they're not talking about, like, the ridings and the votes and the, like, is this not as close as it looks? I don't know. Like, in the U.S., when some of the states report in for presidential votes, it can be, like, 47% to 53%, and people are like, oh, it's not close. Oh, it's a foregone conclusion. Okay. So maybe 157 to 148. I think two things. The conservatives at this point, no matter what, have picked up seats. Conservatives have gained members of parliament. In a sense, you have that victory no matter what. Conservatives have a bigger presence in a bigger party. It looks like with 148, that is bigger than before. So no matter what, that's something to hang your hat on. Liberals, the only question now is, if indeed liberals are going to win this thing, which they seem to think, are liberals going to reach the 172 magic number and have a majority government? That's the other huge question. That's probably the biggest question. The biggest question is who's going to win. I was ready to go to bed. I was ready to say, good night, everyone. It's like going to be midnight soon. But why are you holding your election so late, by the way? Don't you know that there's Americans who got to go to bed? Can't you reorganize your government policies for my bedtime? So, those are my thoughts right now. It looks like they're constantly updating these numbers like every minute. I guess just based on history, it seems like the Liberals, the seats that are in question are probably Liberal incumbents defending the Liberal seats, and they're probably going to win, and you can extrapolate that the Liberals are going to win. It's just, are they going to hit 172 and be a majority government? If they're held to a minority government, that's also kind of a conservative win. Obviously, conservatives wanted to win the majority and, like, be in power in the government. That is a victory. But it's not a total wash, even if the Liberals win at this point. So, I don't know. At this point, I'm really not going to even say, like, we're close to... We're not going to say somebody's winning this thing. We don't know who's winning this thing. I don't know. Nobody knows. We'll say it's looking like Liberals are indeed going to win. Still, 158 to 148. This is a two-party race. This is like the United States. The cool thing about Canada is you guys got like 5 different parties. But, I don't know. Look at the update. 156 to 150. 156 to 150. 155 to 151. All right. Oh my God. This is crazy. 155 to 151. This is close. Can anyone say right now that they're confident who's going to win? Anyway, I was just saying this is a two-party race. Like, the NDP might not even be a technical party or whatever if they don't get 12 seats, and the bloc is way down, and the Green Party's at 1, and 155 to 151. This Liberal Conservative, it's like almost a dead heat. This is exciting. Holy cow. All right. I'm gonna go get something to drink or something. Maybe some caffeine, because I don't know how long this is gonna take. 154 to 152. What are they saying? What are they saying right now?
I'm told right now they're down 13 in Ontario right now. At 59 Conservative, they're up 18. So the Liberals are losing seats to the Conservatives in Ontario. The NDP are losing seats to the Conservatives in Ontario. And look at that. It's 154 to 152 right now. Like, we're getting close to a tie. Rosie?
Okay, Althea, you want to know, and then Andrew, and then I'm going to get some more results.
Two things.
Yeah.
One, I don't think we actually know enough at this moment because we don't know what the advanced polls are, and there was such a huge turnout for the Liberals.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but a lot of the ridings that Mark Carney went to in the last week, like Newmarket, Aurora, King Vaughan, those are all blue at the moment, and I think a lot of the major issues there are crime, and the Liberals really did not speak to a lot of people's anxieties on that.
Yeah.
The other thing that you're seeing in
Okay.
Edmonton Centre, in Windsor West, in London Fanshawe, is that the Liberals decided to go after basically NDP incumbents to get to their majority, and Progressives did not know who to vote for. We talked about this at the beginning of the show.
Basically, they're trying to like theory craft and explain why this is like a dead heat. 154 to 152. Now it's 155 to 151. There's so many polls that still need to report in. Why like an hour ago was this like did they say this race was over? What a mistake that was. And I bought into it a little bit too. Maybe it is over. I don't know. All right. I am gonna jump ahead in time again. Let's come back. Let's come back in like half an hour, whatever. Maybe, I don't know how long I'll be able to stay away. Oh my God, this is exciting. And let's see what this looks like in a bit when some more reporting comes in. Oh my goodness gracious. Okay, all right. Well, it's almost midnight Eastern time, and it does indeed look like that was a false alarm. The Liberals are pretty comfortably back in the lead.
Votes in a single riding there. So there's numbers like that in the tens of thousands right across the country.
And to that end, look at what's going on now at the bottom of your screen. Things have changed pretty dramatically again.
Yeah.
Now the Liberals shooting back up to 163 and the Conservatives dropping down to 146. The NDP dropping there as well. So, so that shows you a little bit, again, how fluid things are still at this hour. What the heck time is it? 11:30 Eastern. Polls have all been closed since 10 o'clock Eastern, an hour and a half in. Yes, we've said who's going to form government, but because those numbers continue to shift around a lot, because of the way this election has unfolded, really being a race between the two main parties, that is where we're at tonight. Still lots of movement there, and still not able to make a call on what kind of government you will end up with by the end of this night, or who knows, maybe early into tomorrow morning. Let's go to this result, though, that has been projected.
What? What did she say? Tomorrow morning? I don't... Okay. That's all I needed to hear. This has been a very entertaining, very exciting, very insightful Canadian election for me. Like I said, the first one I've ever watched really start to finish in my entire life. The first one I really ever truly understood what was even going on. Most Americans have no clue. For the vast majority of my life, I had no clue. So it was really cool to follow along with all this. But it does indeed look like the heroic comeback by the Conservatives is just some kind of fantasy. It was close there for a second. For a second, I was like, what? They seem to know what they're talking about, though. The Liberals, it does indeed seem like they are able to call this for the Liberals. We may not know if the Liberals are going to form a majority government or not in today or tomorrow, or when you're watching this video, it's going to be tomorrow. It's going to be April 29th. So maybe we'll know by then. But for today, all I can say is, I don't know, what's the recap here? Liberals win. That was the projection, and it turned out to be true. That is the direction and the will of Canada and the direction Canadians want to go. And Mark Carney is going to continue to be the Prime Minister. I guess he's kind of proven his salt being the Prime Minister for the last month or so. And Canadians are happy with him, or at least the majority of Canadians. And yeah, I don't know. I'm going to want to kind of learn more about maybe what his platform and policies are specifically, because the real question is, what does this mean for the future of Canada? Now that the election is essentially over, it is decided. Conservatives did good. It's, by the sound of it, Conservatives did good for losing. They did good, if that's any consolation for you. The Bloc was down, I think. NDP, way down. They may not even reach 12 seats. Green, I don't know if they're down or not. They have 1 seat. Fascinating election, truly. And I don't know. That's kind of all I have for you. It's been a long day, a long Canada-filled day for me. And I truly enjoyed it. So anyway, if you enjoyed this as well, feel free to give this video a like. Or, if you're Canadian, please leave a comment with your thoughts on Canada's 2025 election. Liberals win, Mark Carney, Prime Minister. What does the future of Canada hold now? That'd be cool to hear from Canadians out there. And if you're interested in more videos like this, me reacting to Canada and learning about Canadian culture and seeing Canadian things you've never seen before, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching, and see you next time.